question. If you could only
Yep.
watch one movie for the rest of your life, there's only one movie that you can take with
Oh,
you. What is that one movie?
oh man. Okay, that is a hard question. I don't know. Like, Lord of the Rings, maybe because it's so long that you
That's a
could
good
it takes
pick.
a lot
That's
of time, right?
a
They got three, and the movies are long each, right? So it's like what a good 10 hours of watch time. So like it would take you a long time to
I will
rewatch.
accept this answer. You just take the Lord of the Rings
Okay.
extended trilogy with you, and you're good. You got a weekend's worth of film. Amazing.
Totally,
Amazing. So
totally.
I can confirm that we are definitely live. For those of you joining us live, thank you
Awesome.
so much for another Henry's Live session. I'm here with Scott Bakken of So Calat. He's the founder of So Calat, and we're going to talk about the creative process. First of all, first and foremost, Scott, how are you doing? You're based out of Calgary. How's everything going on out there?
We are good. So I am a father. I'm a husband. We've got two children, a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. And we are been really at home since probably like March, like everybody else. And, the weather's starting to get nice. So we've been able to let the kids outside and play and get some fresh air. But
Amazing.
ultimately, we're doing really good. Family is doing good. It's been a challenge with kids in this season because you don't really get a break.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's been good. It's been fun. We're doing so
And
we are good.
the first thing I have to ask you, because a lot of people that are watching this may not know or may not have heard of Socality. So you guys have been doing some amazing initiatives for the creative community. Please tell us, what is Socality and what is sort of your main driving force?
Yeah. Okay. So big question there. So Socality was started in 2014, but it was kind of a conceptual idea probably about a year before that. And so basically what it is, and actually in 2014 when we launched, if you Googled what is Socality, it was like one of the main questions because everyone was trying to figure out. But the concept really came from it's a community. First of all, a community started online, but then brings people together for face-to-face encounters. And it really started in me. My wife and I, we are from Canada. We moved to Sydney, Australia, and we lived in Sydney for 6 years. And then when we came back to Calgary, Canada, it was just basically like a big shock to our system because we went from beaches and beautiful sunshine, warm summer nights, and honestly a great creative community back to Calgary, Canada, where it was cold, people were hibernating, people were inside. And, Calgary has advanced now, in a lot of ways. But back then it was kind of like 10 steps behind Sydney. And so basically just a shock to our systems, even though I was physically here, mentally and emotionally, I was still living in Australia. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
trying to arrive back in Canada mentally as well. And a couple things that I instantly was looking for was community. Like I had been out of this one for so long and had come from a community. And Instagram was just coming on the scene, but Facebook had been on the scene for about 4 years. And what was interesting about social media is you could be somewhere and still see your world. So
Right,
as
right.
whereas before that, when you left somewhere, you left somewhere. But now here I was in Canada and just scrolling through Facebook and seeing all my friends, seeing Australia, and I was like, man, it increased the disconnect and
Yeah.
in me. And so I was just looking to reconnect back in Canada. I was like, I need community. And traditionally, community was found then like you go, you meet somebody, you hang out, you do something, right? You go to a movie, you go for coffee, you go for dinner. Uh, and so I was just really struggling to meet people because people were hibernating a lot because of the weather. So I basically just started going out to the mountains. We live about an hour from Banff. So I go to Banff, Lake Louise, all these beautiful places, and just take on my iPhone.
Hmm.
Early adopter on Instagram. Instagram had also just launched and started posting photos on Instagram. And I mean, I thought like people really didn't know where Calgary was, and mostly they didn't at that time.
Right.
Banff was well known for like maybe older people coming through with their RV and doing some camping, but people started to comment on my photos like, "Where is this? Wow, where is this place?" And I wasn't seeing eyes. I was just kind of like looking to connect and trying to figure out how to arrive back here. And people just were commenting like, "This is the most beautiful. Where are you? Where do you live?" And I was like, "Well, I live here." And then what happened is I started growing followers on the app, and I was like really falling in love with taking photos because every time I posted, I was having new conversations and I was meeting
Right,
new,
right.
which was exciting, right? You're growing, you're meeting new people, you're finding new people, you're clicking on their feed, and you're discovering other locations. Like, wow, like where do you live? And you're having this
Yeah,
online
yeah.
conversation. And so from that, my personal feed started growing. I took a liking to photography, obviously, because of the whole, growing and connecting. And then also another thing that happened was I was like, man, I'm meeting all these people. We're connecting online. What would it look like if we took this experience that I'm having online and brought it together in person? What would it look like if these people that I'm connecting with around the world, if they came here and met me, and we had I could personally show them these mountains. I could show them my favorite spots, and together we could capture and create. And so the idea of SoCality really came from a personal need in me about looking for community, finding community. And then I came up with a concept and we launched, and it kind of just took over my life in 2014. And we had months after that, and over 300 people came from all over the world. We put them on buses. We went to the mountains and we showed them our mountains, and we had an experience together. And ever since then, we've been doing events all over the world. And here we are 6 years later.
Amazing, amazing. And you guys have grown exponentially since then. Why did you feel that community was so important? And it may be a little bit of a rhetorical question, but in a place where technology is always innovating and there's new ways to connect remotely, and in this situation, we're pretty apparent of all those options, but why was it important for you to bring people together? And again, from all these places.
Yeah, big question, very big question. And, it's so funny because it's been interesting to see since we launched even to now, the need for community in our personal lives, and how we've seen some people, kind of go off and just do their own thing. The community, it's been interesting even to see how social media has impacted that. Right. But I think that I would say that we're not meant to do life alone. And you can see very clearly, even in this time which we're living in, this COVID-19 era, where now we're all quarantined or in our houses, and thank goodness for social media, to be honest, because we're able to connect. But I mean, everyone's in a different situation, right? You've got people who struggle emotionally or mentally, or you've got other people who get inspired. Like for me, like honestly, like for my own photography, one way I learned was just by standing by really great photographers and putting myself right beside them and like looking through their lens and learning from them. Like, what do you see? Like, what are you capturing, and putting myself around other people. And I find like when we come into community, not only do we develop relationships and have that support mentally or in our own personal goals, but we add our skills and our crafts, right? Because we are literally surrounding ourselves with people who inspire us. And you're not meant to do life alone. And so we only get better at everything when we're with people. So
and I have to talk to you. I mean, this is about the creative process, because when you started off, I'm going to go out on a limb here. You weren't a professional photographer full time. You were not in this lifestyle that you've carved out for yourself. How did you look to get better? Was it solely seeking out other people and other creators, or were there other things that you looked to accelerate your learning and become a better photographer, a better creator overall? What did you look to do to kind of accelerate that growth?
Yeah, I think a lot of things. I think anytime you hang out with somebody who is better than you instantly want to get better. I'd be hanging out with all these great photographers that become their events, and you're out in the mountains, or you're taking photos, and they're showing you their camera, and you're just like, oh, how did you get this? You know what I mean? Like, and so you see their angle, you see their point of view, and then you want to get better. Edits, and you're like, man, I just want to get better at my skill, because everybody wants to present. Every time you post something or share something online, it represents you, right? And so you want to share, you want to put your best foot forward, you want to share, and then you become known for something. And so it's like, you can't just post or share something that's average. And the question is, do you love it? If you're looking at your photo, you got to ask yourself, do I love this? Is this something I'm proud to put out there with my name on it? And if you can say, I truly love this, then you can share it. And so I think, wanting to get better just comes from being around other people who are constantly pushing themselves as well. And I think that's another thing about creative community, is when you are with people who are instantly, and sometimes, it's like when you're hanging out with a friend who says something so random and it's like takes you offside, and you're like, but then you think about it and you're like, actually, that kind of makes sense. And they change your thinking because they presented an idea that you didn't think of. And I think that's what happens in creative community is people are constantly challenging your processes or your mindsets or pushing you to something that you never thought you would do. And all of a sudden you're doing it and you're so happy you are doing it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I'm so glad you brought this up. And guys, for those of you watching, this is live. This is not rehearsed because that's one of the things that's great about community and being around people that are better than you or better in different ways is because it challenges your frame of thought or how your process may be and asks you to reconsider and be open to different kinds of creative styles or templates or whatever it may be, right? I have to ask
Like,
you because you probably get this question all the time because your personal Instagram account, well over 300,000 followers. So Calat is about 200,000 followers on Instagram. So I'm sure people ask you, okay, listen, I think I take pretty good pictures. How do I grow my social account? Whether it's Instagram or YouTube or Twitter, whatever it may be, they probably connect with you and your team and ask about growth on the social media side. How do you guide
yeah.
that? What sort of your answer to that?
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing about my personal Instagram account is, like I said, I was an early adopter. I started probably 2010, and 2011, I really started to, take it serious. And back in the early days of Instagram and the OGs, remember this, there was something called suggested user list, and that's when every 2 weeks Instagram would follow like 200 people, and that meant they put them on a suggested user list. So anybody that was signing up for the app at that time, Instagram was presenting your feed as a suggested person to follow. And so that happened to me twice. And that was a way that helped growth in the beginning. That's a way Instagram probably was driving creators and pushing people, on an app, if you want to get people creating, you get them excited, you give them followers. And so Instagram was doing just that. And so in the early days, I was suggested twice, which helped grow my personal account. And then from there, I just grew naturally and organically. So Calat was never suggested. So Calat has just been organic growth from day one. We had an explosive opening day when we launched. We had like in a few hours, and that kind of just took off. And the more we did events, the more both So Calat and my account grew. Fast forward to 2020, I think Instagram growth is very different now. I think that I think now, so to answer your question, I can give you some ideas or some thoughts about growing your social. But I would say like right now, I would say Instagram as an app, people have pretty much found their tribes. And so I feel like growth is slower currently on the app because people have settled into who they're following, what they like, and maybe they might follow a few people. But I think right now, if you want to grow like massively on Instagram right now, you kind of just need to go viral on some kind of platform like YouTube or be on Ellen, or something like that, and get kind of that great growth. But organic growth right now is I'm just being honest, is difficult on Instagram. But that being said, a couple of tips that people can apply is consistency, posting every day, developing a cohesiveness amongst your Instagram account, like literally asking the question, does this photo look good next to this photo? Because people will judge you. People come to your Instagram account, like photo 1, like photo 2, like photo 3, and go, I like this, follow, right? Because they're happy with the consistency and go, people follow you for a couple of reasons on Instagram. One, because they're your family or your friend. So we all, like your family and your friends are going to follow you. But if they're not your family or friend, why would they follow you, right? They don't care about your pizza or your lunch. They don't know you. So they're only going to follow you based on the quality of your work, based on, I like this. I like these beautiful landscape photos. I like this product styling. I like this person's fashion. I like this person's, aesthetic. And so people will follow you if they don't know you, and that quality of work speaking to a certain niche, right? So, so consistency, developing a cohesive theme, deciding, okay, who am I speaking to? And when those types of people land on my feed, they're going to click follow because they are happy for me to give real estate in their feed each day, right? And so, if I'm scrolling through my feed, I'm happy to see that in my feed. Or like, what is that? I don't want to see that in my feed. I don't want to see a beautiful mountain the next day, like some crazy selfie. You know what I'm saying? Building that consistency. So I would say, cohesiveness, developing a brand, finding your tribe, speaking to the tribe that you want to follow you, kind of keys that you can, and that would apply for any platform, to be honest. And they even say that about TikTok. Really The algorithm is going to read that. The algorithm's then going to put that out to people who are liking things similar to the content you're putting out. So.
Right, right, right. And I think the last one really resonates with me. This idea of like people scrolling through, does it bring them, this Mary Kondo thing, does it bring them joy? Are they happy to see this kind
No,
of content, right?
totally. And that's what you have to realize is that every time you post something, you might be like, I'm doing this for me. But you have to remember that people have clicked the follow button.
Right,
And they have given you permission. They welcome you into their feed is like their home, right? And so they've welcomed you into their home. And so what are you saying or what are you bringing of value to that person each day, right? So I
right,
can't
right.
just be posting, oh, here I am, whatever. Like, what am I saying? And so, ask questions, engage the audience. When you ask a question, you get people that comment that you didn't even maybe know were there. And so I think
Right.
looking at ways to engage people, bring them into the story, don't just broadcast, bring people in. And so engagements, what value are you bringing through what you're sharing? And I think that's a real important thing for people to question.
Amazing, amazing. And one of the things is consistency, right? Whether it is
Mhm.
Instagram or YouTube, that having some level of consistency will attract followers because there's an expectation there that, okay, I'm going to give you my attention. Now you're going to give me some content that's some sort of like schedule, right? How do you
Totally.
stay creative? Because I mean, you're doing events with a bunch of great creators. You're also bringing in a lot of people that are looking to grow creatively. How do you, in
Yeah.
your eyes, how do you stay creative? How do you
Yeah.
keep iterating over time?
Yeah, and that's actually a personal challenge for me personally right now, just because like I am at home. I'm at home with the kids, and the
Yeah.
kids take a lot of attention, and the kids take a lot of energy. And I look at some of what my friends are doing, whether it be on TikTok or Instagram, and I go, that is awesome, but I can't even think of doing that right now because just organizing the kids is
Yeah.
a drama.
Yeah.
I think so. Different pockets present different challenges, but I think that the way you stay creative is you have to you have to follow people that are way better than you.
Mm.
And if you're always, it's like the type of content that frustrates you every time you see it because it's so beyond your own skill set that you've got to choose to follow those types of people. I think naturally as humans, sometimes you're like, I don't want to see that because it challenges me too much. And
Yeah.
choose not to follow it or engage with it. But I feel like you have to stay frustrated. The moment,
Interesting.
it's like when you buy something from IKEA or wherever, you open the box and you look at it and you're just frustrated because you're just looking at this. You have to assemble, right? And it's like,
I know the feeling all too well. There's like
everyone
three
knows the
pieces of
feeling of,
furniture behind me that have given
yes,
me that feeling. Yes.
and you got to put together with a Allen key, or it's the same thing when you buy a new piece of gear or whatever, and you're looking at it and you're just like looks like Greek because you're just like there's so much more
Yeah.
that you've got to read the manual and you've got to figure it out. And I find that to be a frustrating feeling, but some
Yeah.
people it comes to them naturally. But I think the key to growth is stay frustrated, because if you are frustrated, you have two choices in that moment. You can choose to figure it out and execute and get better, or you can just choose to walk away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the moment you're not frustrated, the moment you're just creating with ease, is the moment you're probably stagnant and just producing and reproducing and rehashing the same thing that people have seen a million times. And if that's what you're doing, you're not getting creative. You're just literally, I thought about this the other day, living in a copy and paste world, right?
Right.
Where you're
Right.
just like,
Right.
someone does this, copy, paste, but there's no originality.
Right.
And I feel like we live in a very copy paste world where people just see something that works it and copy it and paste it to their own life, but it's not authentic, it's not real, it's not push them. And I feel like we need to stay frustrated in order to stay creative.
Yeah, yeah. I've never heard anyone contextualize it like that for me. And then, as you're explaining it, I look back at some of my most fulfilling pieces of art or photographs, whatever it
Yeah,
may be, and I look back and I'm like, I was actually pretty frustrated through that process, whether it was the editing or
right?
capture process, there was a good amount of
Totally.
frustration that was present. Interesting. I'm glad you brought
Totally.
that up.
It pushes you. It's like digging deep, right? It's like
Yeah.
digging deep and figuring it out, and then discovering things that you never knew were inside of you, and be like, we did this, but it's only your frustration that got you there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Listen, I gotta give a shout out to Canon because they're the ones that linked us up and helped us put this together.
Yes,
So shout out to them because they really do a lot for the Canadian creator community, right? Sponsoring events on the East Coast, on the West Coast,
they
ton of great
do.
stuff. I have to ask you
Yes.
though, before you were a Canon ambassador, you decided to
Yep.
pick up a Canon camera and use a Canon camera,
I did.
and you
I
continue to do
did.
so. So why did you choose Canon, and why do you continue to choose Canon for the work that you do?
I did. So yes, and so Canon Creator Lab and Canon Canada are definitely great partners of ours. So back, like I said, back when I started, launch Socality, my own creative journey, my own photography journey, was posting photos and my Instagram account was growing. And one day I just got a call I was actually not feeling well and I got a call and I answered it. I never answered phone. When you see the number, you're like, I don't want to answer it, but I answered it for some reason. And they're like, don't hang up, don't hang up. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so I work for a major telecom company and they want to send you and your family. They love your Instagram account. They want to send you and your family down somewhere, film a national commercial and broadcast and put your Instagram name,
Wow.
user handle on it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like this was such a random call. This was back in 2015. So up until then, I'd never made a single cent on my Instagram account. I was just posting because I loved it.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
and so I said, okay. And then naturally it progressed. And before you know it, they flew my family to San Francisco. We filmed a commercial. And that, of course, went across Canada and all that. And it was for a major telecom company. And then after that, they said to me, well, we loved your work so much. We want you to shoot our next, our next billboard and in-store
Wow.
campaign. And it's like, had an iPhone. And so I was like, oh, I guess I better. So I just kind of said yes to them on the phone, thinking I don't even know what to do. Like I've never done that.
Yeah.
And so I went. The only name that was in my head was Canon. Just go buy a Canon. Like I didn't
Yeah,
even. I
yeah.
just went to Best Buy. Like I need a Canon. Like literally green bean. It's like no clue, right? Bought a Canon. I got the 6D,
Yeah.
and I literally went out and shot a whole national campaign on the 6D. And it was across Canada in stores for this telecom company. I could say it because it's on my website, Rogers.
Yeah.
And since then and they still are a partner of mine. And so I
Wow.
ended up doing lots of commercial photography for them, and I still do work with them. And literally, just Canon was the only name that came into my mind. And then before you know it, Canon had reached out to me probably about a year and a half later and asked me to be involved with something they were doing with a printer. And they sent me this printer and I was giving away. And then that just one thing led to another. I became part of a program they did, One to Watch. And then before you know it, they released the R and I was part of and yeah, they just became a personal partner. I became a Canon ambassador. And then just one thing led to another. And their team had seen what we were doing with Socality. And they honestly, like I can say, like we were doing live events just out of our own for 5 years on a volunteer basis. Like we didn't make a single cent. If anything, it was costing us money
Yeah.
just because we love community. And Canon just really, really saw the value of us bringing people together and creating experiences and jumped in with us. And weekly call with them. And I can honestly say they are the best partners. Like they dream with us, we create
Mm-hmm.
together, we come up with
Mm-hmm.
ideas together. They believe in what we're doing. They didn't ask us to alter anything. They just said, how can we support you? And, together we come up with ideas. We have a big box of gear we take to all our events. When we can do our live events, people can experience the gear, play with the gear, give feedback. We create these experiences where people can connect and create and then post and share their work. And
Right,
right now we're
right.
doing it's been great. And we've just been getting this international audience that's been logging in and learning together and this whole new aspect that honestly, Canon, because I needed it. And it has literally changed my life. And now the relationship we have with Canon is probably one of the most special relationships.
Amazing.
Just so very creative. They're honestly amazing to work with. And I'll be Canon forever to the day I die.
Amazing. And it's one of these things where we often think of a brand as this big, ominous figure in the shadows, the invisible arm, whatever it is. But these are real people.
Yeah.
There's a Canadian team here that is paying attention to the community, and they're doing remarkable things to support the community.
Totally. And they're very interested. We'll keep bringing up people to them that we meet at the events and we'll share them and we'll like, what do you think about this person? So they're always
Yeah.
looking. They really value like people's creative eye. They value like people's original work. And they value just like good people, like just people
Yeah.
that are genuinely interested in doing something awesome. And so they are real people. I can confirm that. And they're a great brand. And honestly, we're things with the R5 coming out and dreaming about what events in COVID-19 world could look like.
Right, right,
And we've
right.
got some fun ideas planned, and obviously as things lift a bit, we'll be able to expand on that. But yeah, they're great partners and we're so thankful for them. And they've really allowed us, as Socality, because we were pretty much doing things just, on a wing and a prayer,
Yeah, yeah.
to be honest. And it really gave us whole new wings to fly and allowed us to take some ideas to the next level. And it's been really great. And we've seen that in the community come together and create and have these moments where they can feel actually supported. And that's been really nice.
Amazing, amazing. I have to ask you one thing because I mean, you started working with
Yeah.
brands before you ever thought you'd be
Yeah.
working with brands, and there's people out there,
Yeah.
creators out there that are aspiring to work with brands to get noticed by them.
Yeah.
So, having gone through
Yeah.
your journey and building Socality yourself, what's your advice to creators out there to get noticed by brands, to build relationship with brands, or how to be more proactive with it, even?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've had some sort of luck, in that area, but I definitely think there's some strategy behind it. Like, honestly, I wasn't ever looking for it. I was just doing what I loved. And I think the main key is if you do what you love and you're passionate about it,
Right.
those brands will find you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think if you're brand loyal, like, I mean, if you would post it because you love it,
Yeah.
anyway, sometimes people are like, oh, I'll only post that if that brand pays me or if that brand gives me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think just be brand loyal, be brand aligned, like just love a brand. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like if
Yeah.
you're creating what you love and doing what you love and sharing what you love, that will shine through and the right people will see that and they'll come alongside you and go, we love your work. We love what you're sharing. We love what you're creating. Because, and I say this all the time, people are, we live in a social media world, but people are getting, numbers don't mean much anymore. Like I think at the end of the day, brands are looking for content. Brands are looking for quality, right? Because at the end of the day, like a big brand, if they really want an ad on the side of the road, they'll go buy it. If they really want to reach people through social, they just go buy Facebook ads,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
brands have the money to reach and speak to who they want to speak to. But what they really are looking for is great quality content and powerful stories. And so for me, I would be like, don't get caught up in the numbers, just get caught up in the work, get caught up
Right.
in sharing the things that you love and the right people. And then, if you're, Canon and then, whatever brands you're working with, aligned brands that see that will come running and go, we want to also join in on this because we love the story you're telling. Because it's all about alignment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And brands love to be, so what I say to creators is brands love to be aligned with brands that are complementary, right? And so, like Canon, and then you've got, like, I work with GMC, and then you've got, Rogers, and you've got American Express, and you've got, like, these are, Eddie Bauer, these are aligned brands, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they fit styles, like, they all kind of like, I'm out in my Eddie Bauer, hiking a mountain, shooting with my Canon, I drove here in my GMC. Like, there's an alignment there, right? And
Yeah.
so I would think so. And so I would feel like, if you're doing what you love, sharing what you love, but you're doing it because, for only because you love it. And I think the moment you just start doing things for money is almost like you turn the tap off on you personally as well, because then you've just come underneath this thing of like, you're ruled by the almighty dollar versus ruled by your passion of creativity.
Right, right, right. For those of you watching live, I will say that we are doing a session on Instagram right after this, another Q&A for half an hour where you guys can participate. I want to end it off on this. Tell us, Socality, right now, this pandemic
Yeah.
has not stopped you guys. You are still looking to bring
No.
people together to share more value out there. So let's end this off, this
Yeah.
discussion here on this.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing right now, and how are you looking to give value back to creators in this COVID-19 world?
Yeah, and when COVID-19 hit, I mean, it was like, what are we going to do? Like, we were doing live events, like that's what we've always done, but we've always also had a strong presence online. So when we stopped the live events, that was really heartbreaking for us because the coming together and the experiences together is really powerful. And we're like, wow, we can physically not have this right now. So we presented to Canon. How about we do some online workshops? And I mean, it's a Zoom world. Everyone's living on Zoom. But about 2 months ago, we said, what if we try this? And so we launched, we just started bringing some great Canon creators and doing workshops around the creative and video and photo. Right. We had such a significant response, just like we've been doing, we get somebody to do a workshop, part 1, part 2, people sign up like they would, they come live, they watch the event. And if you signed up You can participate live, you learn live, you can ask questions, we host it, and then for 48 hours after, they can rewatch. We've literally had thousands of people from all over the world. And it's fun when you go live, you're like, people just say where you're from in the chat. And it's like, I'm from Germany, I'm from Paraguay. And just like, the chat goes wild with international, people stating where they're from. And it's so exciting.
Yeah.
So right now, the way So Calat is operating is we're doing online workshops with people, with Canon. We're doing great teaching and training, building the community that way. And then obviously we're looking at doing some significant, I can't really say, but we're looking at maybe doing some creative, constructive pieces where we collectively do something together as a community, create something of value for, collectively. So yeah, just trying to when in this challenging time, think about how do we rise above it and just get better. So
Amazing. Scott, thank you so much for your time. Again, guys,
thank you
Scott
so much.
C.
It's been
Bakken, you
awesome.
can follow him on Instagram. His handle is there. So Cality, SOCALITY. Make sure to follow them as well for all this great content.
Yes.
And again, we're going to continue this conversation right on Instagram. So